Good evening, good afternoon, or whatever it might be. I'm Stuart. I work with APW. Thanks for coming. Basically, transform your property portfolio. It's quite a grand title. You know, global economic uncertainty, it is a bit of a minefield out there. You've always got some reason why not to make a decision. You know, if you wait for every light to be green before you set off for school, how long would it take you to get there? And everything's not all going to have ticks next to it. You know, we're often going to have red lights and think, eesh, that's a worry. Should I really be starting off now? You know, you worry about stuff you don't need to. And so there we go. It's about transferring your property portfolio, but we're going to talk a little bit about who we are and what we do. We take a shopping list of criteria for buying from our clients. So a shopping list, a list of what you'd like to achieve, and we try and go out and achieve it. So find a property, say, is it a head property or a heart property? Do you need lending? Do you need a tenant to look after it? Are you going to rent it out or are you going to live in it? So we do a criteria for buying, and that's what we do. We find property based on client goals. We just help people build wealth. And I've been doing it for 35 years. We have the gentleman here from Capricorn, mortgages. Andy, do you want to have a chat about that?
So Capricorn are London's largest UK mortgage brokerage, and we purely specialise in mortgages on UK properties. So as Stu mentioned, there's various options around the globe, Australia, Middle East, America. We purely focus on UK property. That's what we're good at, that's what we know, and that's what we stick to. One of the common misconceptions is, as a UK expat, can I get a mortgage? And the simple answer is yes, absolutely. There's always a solution to suit your needs, and using our expertise, we can find that solution for you. Starting off with some purchase prices are at the 160 mark. With UK property, as a non-UK resident, ideally you need to provide a 25% deposit. Some lenders will lend at 80%, so with a 20% deposit, but for that interest rate, you will pay a slightly higher rate and a slightly higher fee. So ideally, a 25% interest rate, a 25% deposit would be optimal from a lender perspective. Now with that, you have different options available, fixed rates or variable rates, and that's down to personal choice, depending on what your preference is. We can fix a mortgage for you so you've got stability, that going forward, the interest rates won't change, therefore your payments will not change. If you think actually at the moment, rates are a little bit high, I think they might come down in the future, we can look at variable options for you as well. But just as some examples, at the moment we have a two-year option with a 25% deposit, so therefore, in this example, we looked at a slightly bigger deposit, so £60,000 deposit, looking at a loan amount of £100,000. There are two different options available. One is a repayment mortgage, and the other one is interest only. Now, the difference between the two are, with a repayment mortgage, when you agree the mortgage payment at the start, and let's say you have a 25-year mortgage, over the next 25 years, your debt is reducing until eventually, at the end of the mortgage term, the mortgage is repaid and you don't owe anything on the property whatsoever. The property is then yours. One popular option, especially with buy-to-let properties, is interest only. And this is where you agree the mortgage debt at the start of the term, and again, throughout the mortgage term, you just purely pay the interest on the property. So your balance actually doesn't go down. Now, some people have a concern saying, okay, well, how am I actually going to repay the property in the future? Which is a very fair question. And the option is you either sell the property at some point in the future, so when the property has gone up in value and you sell the property, that's when you can repay the mortgage that way. It's a very easy way to keep the mortgage payments down. We do have options where we can look at a fixed rate for you as well. So you might want to say, okay, at the moment, not sure what's happening with the global economy, a little bit unstable. I want to actually fix a rate where it's not going to change, so I know my rate won't go up. And that could be for a period of up to 3 or potentially 5 years. In this scenario, it's a 2-year rate. So you will see the rate is slightly higher. That's because you've got the protection from interest rates going up in the future. So as with the first option, that rate could increase as well as decrease. With this option, it's guaranteed to stay the same for a 2-year period. And then finally, just as towards sort of the top end of the sales, we have a purchase price of £300,000 with a 5-year fixed rate. So some people might say, okay, I'm not going back to the UK. I've got no intention on living in the property in the future. I want to arrange a mortgage now. I don't have to touch it again for 5 years. With this option, it keeps the fees down for you. It fixes that rate of interest for a 5-year period, so you've got some stability on the mortgage. Again, you can have this on interest only or repayments, and again, you can see the difference between repayment options there for you.
Properties we offer, what are the sort of areas that do very well? Short-term Airbnb, again, we can do that from overseas because we've got good people who manage them in the UK, that's no drama. This distressed property, like I mentioned in the poor people at the Middle East, has meant to we've got properties that are 8, 10, 20% undervalued because of builders trying to sell them off and recoup the sale they did have. And then you have government contracts, which are basically assisted living, which start at about 12% and go up to 20%. So they are very good. You can make sure you choose the right provider because there's a lot of dodgy ones out there who can potentially go west. So these sort of things we focus on: short-term Airbnb, distressed property, government contract. We're the best one in the world at a simple buy-to-let. If you're buying in Manchester, it's probably going to be a wee bit overpriced, and you're going to be paying 6.5% rental yield. Your net return on it is going to be quite low. So you need to look outside of places like city centres to where you're going to get good bargains. Basically, it's a housing development, 300 homes, 1, 2, 3, 4 bed, that are zero, they're carbon neutral, they're lovely inside for sure, but they're carbon neutral and they've got 0 utility bills for 10 years. So basically, if you buy it, the tenant pays no bills, and that's a real appetizer for buy-to-let people, especially when it's been sold in Wisbech, which is 30% below Cambridge prices, which is commuting distance down the road. You can buy these properties with 5% down, and then I think it's £800 a month to top up your deposit over 2 years. So I can talk you through the financials on it if you wish. Anyway, thank you very much. That's it. Have something to eat, get a glass of something if you wish. Jolly good. Thank you for coming. I'll put my hands together. Cheers. Thank you.